Give me 15 minutes and I'll make you dangerously confident in your ability to succeed with dropshipping. The reason why you haven't started yet has nothing to do with not knowing enough. You've watched enough videos, you've probably done enough research, and you actually know maybe more than most people that are already making money with this. So the real problem is that you don't trust yourself to make the right decisions. You're scared you'll pick the wrong product, scared you'll waste money on ads, scared you won't know when to quit or when to scale. And that fear is really keeping you frozen. But I've seen something interesting happen over and over after teaching thousands of students. The moment they realize they're not supposed to figure it out, the moment they understand they're just following a system, that's really when they start to change their destiny. One of my students is a mum with 2 kids and she made $56,000 in just 3.5 weeks. And then there was another student, Bill. He ran a cleaning business. It was struggling for 7 years and he hit $20,000 by doing dropshipping in his first 3 months. And these students weren't special, they weren't smarter than you, they just stopped trying to be perfect and started to master a proven process. And that's what I'm going to give you exactly today. The exact process that removes the guesswork, removes the fear, and makes you confident enough to actually launch your business. And over the past few years, we've surveyed our community to understand what actually stops people from launching. People are scared of 3 specific things that's really keeping them stuck. What I'm going to do is show you how to actually eliminate these 3 confidence killers. Confidence killer number 1, I don't trust my product picks. So let's begin with this one, which is product selection. Most people think that they're picking products out of like thin air, hoping they're going to get lucky. And yeah, look, if that's your approach, then you should be scared. But if you're not guessing because you're following a validation system, then really there's nothing to be scared about. And over the past 7 years, we've helped thousands of students launch stores, and we've refined a framework that literally puts the numbers in your favor. Because of course, we never know 100% if a product's going to work. Nobody does. But with a proven system, what we can actually do is stack the odds in our favor. And that's why our product validation framework literally looks at 3 important data sources. So the first thing we look at is the supply side data. So we go to AliExpress, look at all the products in our niche, and then we look at how many orders does the product have. So let's say a supplier has sold 5,000 units. What does that tell us? It tells us there's real demand, people are already buying this, and it's likely to be a good product. Go and check the reviews and look, are they recent? Are people happy about it? Are there complaints? The complaints are important because that shows you what you can improve in your marketing and on your product page. Then after that, you want to check logistics. How fast is shipping? And let's say it takes 60 days, then that's going to be a bad thing and people will likely leave bad reviews and refund your product. But if it's under 2 to 3 weeks, then that is usually a good sign. Now let's look at the second evidence, which is demand side data. Go to Google Trends and search for your product keywords. Is the trend going up? Is it going flat? Or is it going down? So if the trend is rising, it means you're catching a wave. If it's flat, it's dropping. And then if it's going down, I'm sorry, but you're late to the party. So here's a specific benchmark that you want to follow. So you want at least 20 to 25,000 searches per month across all relevant keywords. So let's say the keyword pet brush has 15,000 searches, but dog brush has 8,000 and cat brush has 5,000. So you add all of these up and then that's 28,000 in total. And that shows there's enough demand. Third evidence, competitor validation. So go to Facebook and search for ads selling similar products. So are there multiple competitors running ads for that product? And check, have those ads been running for more than 30 days? And if an ad has been running for 60 days plus, then that competitor is very likely making money because they wouldn't keep paying for ads if it wasn't profitable. So that's proof that the market wants this product. Then you want to check engagement. Are people commenting, sharing, tagging their friends? High engagement really means the ad is resonating. And what I've realized is most people get stuck because they look at all this data and think, what if I'm reading it wrong? What if I'm missing something? And that's why you don't do this alone. In our program, students actually fill out a product research template with at least 10 product ideas. You submit it, and our mentors review it and tell you which ones to test first based on all 3 types of evidence. What we're doing is literally holding your hand through every single decision. But even without mentors, you can still do this yourself. Just look at the 3 pieces of evidence: the supply data from AliExpress, the demand data from Google Trends, and the competitor validation from the Facebook ads. And the mum of 2 that I mentioned earlier was actually working part-time as a PA, and she thought maybe she'd found the winner, but sales actually stopped coming in, and then she had to cut the product. Her second product didn't make any sales. Her third product made 27 sales in the first few days, but then Facebook blocked her ads. And on top of that, she noticed the numbers were dropping, so she had to let it go. And at this point, most people would have just given up, but she understood something crucial. She wasn't failing, she was eliminating options. So she kept going, which is good because her fourth product made $56,000 in 3.5 weeks. And she wasn't special. She didn't have some secret advantage or anything. She didn't have a magical instinct. She just followed the same validation process for all 4 products. And that's how this works. You're literally testing keys in a lock. The first 3 just happened to be the wrong keys. Product 4 was the right key. So here's what you have to do right now. Pick a niche that you're interested in. Go to AliExpress and find 5 products with 5,000 plus orders. Then open Google Trends and then check if the search volume is rising or is it steady. Then go to the Facebook ad library and search for competitors selling those products. Whichever product has all 3 types of evidence, high orders, high search trends, and active competitors, then that's your first test. You're not guessing, you're following what the market is already showing you. And that is the important mindset shift. Your job isn't to be a psychic. Your job is simple. Just follow a checklist that removes the guesswork. And that's what gives you confidence. It's not really about having certainty because nobody does. It's about having a clear system that just removes the guesswork. Now you know how to pick products with confidence, but that solves one problem and creates another. Because once you've validated your product using the 3 data sources that we just went over, next is testing it. And testing means spending money. So this brings us to the second fear that keeps people stuck. What if I spend money on ads and I lose it all? Well, here's the reframe that you need to turn that around. You're not wasting money, you're buying data. Every dollar you spend teaches you something about your market, about your ad creative, about your offer. And that's not waste, that's market research. And even if you had 0 budget, right now you can still do this. So you can use free methods like TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. And what you do is you post content, you build your brand, and then you generate your first sales without spending $1. And then once you take those profits, you then reinvest them into paid ads. Let's say you have $200 to $300 to start with. With that budget, you can get 48 hours of real market feedback. And you can realistically do this by running $20 per ad set per day. And after 2 days, you've spent $40 per ad set. That's enough data to make a decision. When you look at your ads dashboard, you're not going to panic because you know exactly how to interpret the numbers. You need to look at these metrics that I'm about to cover. First, you look at your click-through rate. So CTR means click-through rate, and that tells you if your ad creative is actually stopping people from scrolling. So if your CTR is below 1%, then your ad's not interesting enough. People are seeing it, but they're ignoring it. So that means you need to test different hooks, different angles, and different visuals. Second, your cost per click. So that's CPC. This tells you how expensive it is to actually get someone to your store. If your CPC is over $2 to $3, then you're paying too much. Either your targeting is off or your ad isn't relevant to the people that are seeing it. Third, your conversion rate. So this is a big one. This tells you how many people who land on your store actually buy. So if you're getting clicks but no sales, it's not your ad, it's your website. Your product page, your pricing, your trust signals. Something on the site isn't convincing people to pull out their credit card. And fourth, your ROAS. So this means return on ad spend. So this is the ultimate metric. If you spend $40 on ads and make $120 in sales, then your ROAS is 3. You tripled your money. Anything above 2 is profitable once you account for product costs. And these 4 numbers tell you exactly what's working and what's broken. So if you still don't think you can do this, let me tell you about Bill. So he ran a cleaning business for 7 years in Australia. He was barely surviving. The physical work was destroying his hands and shoulders, and he knew he had to find another way. But he was terrified of wasting money on ads. So when he first started running ads, he wasn't converting. He was getting clicks to his website but making no sales. So that's when one of our mentors helped him look at his product page. So they added some apps, tightened up his copy, and improved all the trust signals on the product page. And you know what? His conversion rate went up. Suddenly, with that same ad spend that he was losing money with, he started making money. So he went from survival mode to 20,000 Australian dollars in the first 3 months of dropshipping. And he didn't succeed because he found a magic product. He succeeded because he literally understood what the numbers were telling him. When his conversion rate was low, he knew it wasn't the ad, it was the page. So what did he do? He fixed the page. And that's the shift. The fear of wasting money disappears when you know exactly what you're measuring. So here's what you need to do. Set up your Facebook columns correctly from day one. Track your click-through rate, your cost per click, your conversion rate, and most importantly, your ROAS. After 48 hours of data, look at these 4 numbers and ask yourself, where is the breakdown? If people aren't clicking your ad, the problem is your creative. If people are clicking but not buying, then the problem is your website. If your ROAS is above 2, you're profitable, scale it. But if your ROAS is below 1.5, kill it and test the next product. You're not guessing, you're reading data. And once you can read data, then you're not scared anymore. You're just running tests. But knowing how to run ads and read dashboards solves one problem but creates another. Because when you're following a system, there's a deeper fear sitting in the back of your mind. And it's not like, what if this product doesn't work? It's, what if I just keep testing and testing but never break even? So this brings us to our third confidence killer. What if I can't make enough sales to cover my costs? You're afraid of not making enough sales to cover all the costs. And this is one of the things that really keeps people up at night. You're paralyzed by the thought, what if I do this for months and I'm still in the red? And look, I get it, because you're not just spending money on ads, you're paying for Shopify, you're paying for apps, and every week that actually goes by without profit, that number gets bigger. So let me be brutally honest with you first, and then I'll show you why it's still worth it. The reality is you might spend money learning before you make money earning. And my business partner Stallone, when he first started, he tested 6 products. He spent around $400 to $500 on each of the first 3. And you know how much he made? $0. He was running low on budget because he saved $5,000 for years and he was watching that disappear. And he was thinking, maybe this isn't for me. But what he understood that most people don't was he wasn't wasting money. He was eliminating bad options and actually learning what the market wanted. And he didn't find what actually worked until product number 7, and he went on to generate over $500,000. Now, does this mean you need to test 7 products? No, not necessarily, as students test an average of 5 to 8 products before finding their first winner. But some students find it on product 2, some on product 6, but the pattern is always the same. The one who quits after product 1 or product 2 will never find out what was waiting for them for product 3 or 4. So the shift you need to make is stop thinking about breaking even on this product and start thinking about breaking even on this skill. Let me explain. So our data shows that it takes an average of about 3 months for a student to hit their first $1,000. But once they hit that $1,000 mark, it only takes as little as 2 weeks to go from $1,000 to $10,000. And you might be thinking, why is this? It's because by month 3, you've tested enough products to understand what works, you've dialed in your ads, you've fixed your product pages, and you've learned how to read all the data and metrics without panicking. And then when you find that one product that actually hits, all that knowledge compounds. And of course, I'm talking about students who literally continuously test products and put in the work. In fact, what we've seen is that once somebody hits 5 figures, achieving the 6-figure mark comes extremely quick. So most people who hit 10K pretty quick then scale to 6 figures within a month. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I run out of money before I find a winner? And that's a fair question. So here's how you need to think about your budget. If you have $200 to $300, you can test 2 to 3 products at $40 each, following the same framework that I just taught you. And this gives you 2 to 3 real shots at finding something that works. If a product makes even 1 or 2 sales in that $40 test, then you know there's some demand. And then you reinvest those profits into the next test. So you're not really starting from zero anymore. And if you have zero budget, then look, that's fine. You can start with organic. So post on TikTok, post on Facebook, post on Instagram. And by doing this, you can literally build your brand for free until you start making your first few sales. Then you take those profits from the organic content and then you invest it into paid ads. And the point is, you don't need a huge budget to get started. You just need a process and a discipline to follow it long enough to see if it actually works. Because the real winners aren't the ones who never lose money. They're the ones who see early losses as education, not failure. And once you find that product that works, you have a skill that can generate income for years and years. So think about it like this. I'm not trying to get rich on product one. I'm building a skill that compounds. I'm willing to invest X dollars over the next 90 days to learn this business. And I'm committed to testing 6 to 8 products before I make any decision about whether this works. Because when you make this shift, the fear of never breaking even disappears. Now, I want to go a layer deeper because tactics are only going to get you so far. There's a quote I really love from Tony Robbins. The strongest force in the universe is a human living consistently with their identity. So whatever you believe you are, that's how you'll live. If your identity is someone who watches videos but never takes action, then guess what? That becomes your reality. But if your identity is I'm someone who tests, learns, and grows, and then just focus on executing those actions, then the fear of starting totally disappears because that's just who you are. I talk to my students about this all the time. Discipline over feelings. You don't wait to feel ready, you just do the work. I'm more afraid of living an average life than I am of putting in consistent work. I'm more afraid of not being able to help my family, not have freedom. I'm more afraid of staying stuck than I am of testing a few new products that might not work. So what are you more afraid of? Trying and learning, or staying exactly where you are for the next 5 years? One of our students said something that really stuck with me. She said, I wanted to make a change in my life and it's not going to happen by sitting there doing nothing. And she was exactly right. Failure isn't the end. It's just a learning lesson. You test a product and if it doesn't work, you learn something. You test another, you grow. And here's what you know now. Product selection isn't guesswork. It's a validated system with 3 data sources and mental review. Ad spend isn't waste. It's data you're buying to learn about your market. Decisions aren't gut feelings. They're numbers you're reading from a dashboard. And your identity shapes everything. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from having a system you trust and knowing you can handle exactly whatever the data tells you. You don't need to be special. You need to be systematic. So the question isn't, can I do this? The question is, am I willing to trust the process for the next 3 to 4 weeks and see what happens? Because the truth is, and I really mean this, the fear of staying where you are should be greater than the fear of trying something new. And after helping over 4,000 students build their dropshipping stores, students that have collectively generated over $100 million in sales, I can tell you this. The ones who succeed aren't the most prepared or the smartest ones. They're the ones who found a proven process and executed it. Marie was a part-time PA, Bill ran the cleaning company, Jordan was just a beginner. They weren't extraordinary, they just followed the system. And now they're living completely different lives. So if you're ready to stop researching and start building, if you're ready to follow a system that removes the guesswork, then check out the link in the description. We'll show you the exact product validation framework, the ad setup process, and the decision criteria that's worked for thousands of our students.